Hello and welcome to another fabulous day of art. This lesson is for my first grade friends. All right, first grade friends, we just finished. If you haven't already logged into your SeeSaw account for your classroom teacher, so that should be whichever first grade homeroom teacher that you've got. You should be in their SeeSaw. If you haven't already gone in there and found where I do a read aloud of this awesome book called Mr. Tiger Goes Wild, I recommend that you do that. Watch that video of me reading the book. It's really awesome. And it's a great way. I can't read it on YouTube because that would violate copyright, but I can put it in SeeSaw for you to listen to, since that's a site where you have to log in to be able to see it. But Mr. Tiger Goes Wild is an awesome book. I highly recommend it. Probably available at your local library or wherever you can, wherever you like to get your books, right? But definitely look at that. The main theme of this book, Mr. Tiger is very tired of always having to be so well behaved, right? And we've all felt that before. You've been in places where you're like, oh, I've been so good and so well behaved and I've used my listening ears so long, all right? We've all been there, right? Everybody feels like that. Adults feel like that. It's that balance between there is a time and place for everything. Have you ever heard that phrase before? That means there are times where maybe this is a good idea. Maybe it's a good idea to go a little wild here. This is like my time to be a little wild because everybody needs that. Everybody needs a place where they can go a little wild. They can really, do whatever they're feeling. There's a time and place for that. And then there's a time and place for when you're like, oh, you know what? It's time to use my best listening ears, my best manners. I got to be on my best game because this is not the place to go wild, right? So give me some examples of places that you go that you can go wild. All right, so what are some places that you can jump, run, yell, play around, do whatever you want to be doing? All right, did you name a few? Yes, you did? Awesome. Okay, so some of them would be you could at a playground when you're outside, playing outside. Maybe you're at a friend's birthday party and you're all having fun. All right, those would be some great examples of places that you can really go wild. You can go wild at the pool. You can go wild at a bunch of places. If you've ever been to one of those parks, amusement parks, where you can play in the ball pit or go ride a roller coaster, those are places where you can go wild, right? Those are places that are meant for people to have fun and just do what they want and be a little wild, be a little loud and playful and do whatever they want. All right, within reason. There are other places where you can't do that kind of thing, right? So at school, like when you're on your Zoom call, for instance, with your classroom teacher, is that the time to be playing around, being silly? No, because you're in school, you're listening, you're there to learn new things. We're here to teach you cool new things, and you're there to learn. So it's not the place to be running around, being wild, or being silly, right? So that's an example of a place where you can't be silly. So go ahead and name a few places where you can't be silly. All right. Did you name a few? You did? Yes. All right. So a few places where you cannot be silly, right? One example would be the movie theater, right? Everybody's there to watch a movie and they don't want to hear you yelling, jumping around. That'd be too distracting, right? So that would be an example. Other places, at a fancy restaurant, you can't really run around and yell and do whatever you want. Can you throw food at a fancy restaurant? No, you can't. So there are times and places to be wild and to go wild, right? So learning that is part of the process of growing up, and everybody goes through it, and even adults still learn, oh, you know what? That's not the time and place for this. This is not the time and place for this. I'm going to do this over here and over here, all right? So we're all learning that kind of thing. Now, that being said, so we've covered that, there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place to be silly. There's a time and place, to be doing that kind of thing. And there's a time and place to be serious and to be learning, right? And be your best student self, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to draw Mr. Tiger, all right, this guy right here, going wild, okay? Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you how to draw Mr. Tiger, but it's your job to use your imagination, yes, your awesome imagination that you have, all right, to provide the background for Mr. Tiger, for where Mr. Tiger is going wild, okay? So in this assignment, I decided that I was going to draw a picture of Mr. Tiger going wild somewhere where he's not allowed to. This way I can show people, oh, see, don't break the rules. Don't be going wild where you shouldn't be going wild. So I drew Mr. Tiger going wild in the classroom. Oh no! Oh no! This kind of does look like our classroom right now. It's got no peoples in it. Look at that. Look. All right, so he's jumping around. He's jumping around in this classroom. It's your job to pick if you're gonna have your tiger, your tiger here that's running around. If you're gonna have them in a place where they should be going wild or where they shouldn't. So it's up to you. I picked a place where he shouldn't go wild, but maybe you want to draw your Mr. Tiger and draw him in the jungle where he should be going wild. So it's up to you how you're going to make that background look. All right, so the background is everything in the back of the picture. So everything behind Mr. Tiger is in the background, so that's behind us, right? So Mr. Tiger, let's go ahead and get started on drawing how to draw Mr. Tiger. For this lesson, you're going to need a piece of paper and you're going to need a pencil. So if you don't have a piece of paper and a pencil, go ahead and pause the video and go grab one of those, okay? Go grab a paper and a pencil. All right. I'm going to use my whiteboard to show you how to do this. On my whiteboard, okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw a box. This is going to be my paper. All right, so that box is now my paper. Pretend that nice little box is my paper. All right, next, what I'm going to do is, to get started on my tiger, I'm going to take my pencil. I'm going to go in the middle of my paper. I'm going to draw a rectangle. All right, now I'm going to do that a little slower so you can see exactly what I just did. What I did is I went across, I went down, I went across, and back up. And that's my rectangle. If it takes you a few tries, that's okay. Don't get upset. This is just for fun. This is just a fun project. So if it takes you a couple tries to get a rectangle that you like for your tiger's body, that's okay. Just do it a couple times. You could flip your paper over. You could erase. Totally fine. All right? So keep doing that until you get a rectangle that you like. This rectangle is going to be Mr. Tiger's body, okay? It's going to be Mr. Tiger's body. Next, I'm going to draw a smaller rectangle, and I'm going to make this rectangle Mr. Tiger's head, okay? So right above this box, I'm going to go ahead and draw another box just like this. You see that? It's kind of over to the side, and it's a little bit up, all right? So go ahead and do that as many times as you need to until you get a rectangle that you like. If you have to pause the video, that's totally fine. But go ahead and do that as many times as you need to do it till you get that nice little box for Mr. Tiger's head. Okay? Awesome. Now, what do we have that connects our head to our body? We have a neck. That's right. Mr. Tiger needs a neck. All right? So what we need to do is take that pencil, start at that smaller box and go down to that big box. All right? Start here, go from this small box down to the big box. 2 lines. 2 lines is all we need to connect them to make a neck between his head and his body. All right? So that's his neck. All right. Next thing we're going to do is our Mr. Tiger, remember, our Mr. Tiger is going a little wild, right? So he's jumping, all right? He's jumping. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start here at this box. I'm going to go out, and then I'm going to come back in. All right? I'm going to do that again. I'm going to out, and I'm going to come back in. Cool. All right? I'm going to do this again, and the back, out, and back in. Out, and back in. That's made his little arms going out, and his legs in the back going out. Jumping and being wild. Up right here, all right, at this end of the rectangle, all right, that's where his tail is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start here and go out and back in. And that's his tail. All right, now to really show his arms and his legs, our arms and legs, we need to get those claws on there, okay? So go ahead and draw 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. Awesome. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give him a face. Okay, so we need to make an eyeball for him. So right here on his head, I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle. All right. If I'm going too fast and you need to pause the video, you just pause the video, okay? Don't worry. You can rewind this. You can watch this as many times as you need to get it, all right? No worries here. All right, so you drew that circle on his head. Go ahead and draw another circle inside. So there's a big circle and then there's a smaller circle on the inside. And I usually take my pencil and I just color that one in. All right. Awesome. So now he's got a big eyeball. Now, you might be asking, but Mrs. O'Neill, how am I only seeing one of his eyeballs? All right, it's because Mr. Tiger is jumping and he's going to the side. So the reason we can only see his one eyeball is if I turn to the side and I'm looking this way, right? How many of my eyeballs can you see? Just the one. That's right. You can only see one, right? Because I'm looking this way, right? If I was looking straight at you like this, you'd be able to see two. All right, so let's go ahead and do his nose now. His nose is just if I start right here on that head, I go out and I go back in, all right? And I'll do that a little bigger so you can see. I just went like that. It almost looks like the number 7. I just drew a number 7 right here, and I made a little nose for him. Check that out. All right. Next, I'm going to give him a little tiger ear. Remember, I can only see one of his ears because he's looking to the side. So I can only see one ear, right? I'm going to start right at the top of his head. I'm going to go out and back in. And then tigers, if you've ever seen like inside of a kitty cat's ear, they have like a pink little part inside of their ear. So he has that too. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the same shape as that ear, just a little one on the inside. Boop. Awesome. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give him some tiger stripes, okay? I'm going to go ahead and give him some tiger stripes. On his body, I'm going to go ahead and draw a triangle going down, a triangle going down, triangle going down, a triangle going up. So practice. If you have to practice a couple times, it's okay. Remember, this is just for fun. Have a good time practicing it. You know, practice your drawing your triangles. Remember, up, down, across, up, down, across. Maybe do one upside down where you're going across, down, up, across, down, up. All right? Just practice drawing your triangles. All right? That's all you got to do. That's all stripes really are. You just start at a spot and then you're like, oh, I'm going to go out and back to make some tiger stripes. Awesome. I'm going to give his legs some tiger stripes, his body, his tail. Make sure his arms get some tiger stripes. Make sure his neck gets some tiger stripes, right? I'm even going to put tiger stripes on his face. Put some little triangles right there. All right, and then for his mouth, okay? For his mouth, you can either have him smiling. Yay! He's like, I'm going wild, I'm free. All right, or you can do that smile and then come back down and then draw some triangles for little teeth. Like maybe his mouth is open and he's going, rah. All right? So the teeth are just little triangles, all right? So that's how to draw Mr. Tiger. Now it's your job to make the background. Remember, the background is everything that is around Mr. Tiger. That is in the background. So you could choose, I've had some students in the past do really funny places. Like I had one student make Mr. Tiger going wild in the Walmart where he shouldn't be going wild, right? I've had students make Mr. Tiger going wild in the jungle or out at the, one kid even drew their playground for he was out at recess. Somebody even drew Mr. Tiger in their bedroom at home going wild, and they were like, ah, and they drew themselves being scared. So there are many different ways that you could, many different places you could put him or situations that you could put Mr. Tiger going wild in. All right, remember that when you're doing a background, there should be this line that you draw that separates the ground from the sky, okay? So I have this line right here where you can see that's where the floor is and that's where the wall is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw a line across, all right? And see how I went this way and then I went around him. So I just stopped my pencil and then I went around him and went on this side, went to the other side of the paper, right? So that's how you create that ground and sky, okay? I can't wait to see what you make. Please share them with me if it's one of the ones that, if this is one of the lessons you want to turn in, please share it with me. Remember, you can send a picture to my Remind or to my email address with a picture of your artwork. Please include your first and last name in those when you turn things in, and please include your grade level and your homeroom teacher. That just helps me kind of speed line look through and find everything. And if you want to include a little description, if you want to tell me, which I would love, if you want to tell me where your Mr. Tiger is going wild, please include those. All right, let me know if you need anything, if you need any support, and I hope you enjoyed your lesson on how to draw Mr. Tiger going wild. Yes! Bye, friends!